Mr. Much for your time.
Further discussion, Gentleman from St. Charles.
To speak on the bill, please.
Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, as was alluded to, the GM plant is adjacent to my district. This affects my constituents quite a bit. I was reminded of this fact a day or so ago by the president of the UAW, who represents the workers out in the Wentzville plant, and he'd heard that I'd had some issues with this bill, wanted to talk to me about it. Not sure how he heard that I had issues, but that's a different story. And I asked him if he thought it was appropriate for GM to be negotiating in this fashion, to hold all of these jobs over our heads with the threat of possibly closing this plant if we don't give them what they want. And of course, what they want is change. It's not been defined well. And ultimately, this was brought on, as many others have suggested, at the last minute. And the gentleman I spoke to didn't give me a confirmation, but I could tell from his reaction that he too was not pleased by this tactic. Because of course the union has to represent their workers, and they're very much concerned about if the plant would close or not. This entire process has been incredibly frustrating. We are expected not only to vote on something at the last minute with little input, as my colleague from St. Charles has pointed out, but in a lot of cases with little knowledge of what even was being negotiated. This was dropped very late. So that bothers me on principle. When I talked to the lobbyist for GM, I asked them, if we give you this, what's to keep any other business that employs a lot of workers in the States from coming to us and saying, well, you know, if you don't give us a tax incentive, we're just going to go to Illinois or Kansas or something else. Express Scripts, MasterCard, we have lots of big employers in the state. Why would any of them not come to us next session and ask us for a package? It would be good business for them to do that, right? If we already gave it to someone else. So that concerns me. But ultimately, the crux of the matter is what we are considering here is an aberration of the entire capitalist process. This is not capitalism. Bernie Sanders was mentioned earlier. He's fond of mentioning that true communism, socialism hasn't been tried. Well, I guess I could probably argue true capitalism hasn't either, because we keep doing stuff like this. This is not capitalism. This is crony capitalism. This is big companies that have lobbyists coming to us with the threat of destroying a bunch of jobs if they don't get some freebies from us. Okay, so here we are having this conversation, and I wasn't privy to the machinations that got us here. I've heard some rumors. But now we have an opportunity to decide what Missouri is about. Is Missouri about doing whatever it takes when someone comes to us with a threat to get them to go away? Do we negotiate under duress here in Missouri? Or do we deliberate? Do we think through our choices ahead of time, through the process that we have, through our committees, through our own individual channels, and do we come to an agreement as a body, full well knowing what it is that we are doing and why? That's mostly what's at stake here. But, I'd like to explore a little bit about the impact that this deal would have to other businesses. So, Mr. Speaker, if I could inquire of the gentleman from Franklin, please.
Does the gentleman from Franklin yield?
To speak from a microphone other than my own.
It'd be more fun if you spoke from yours, but I'll let you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's my understanding that you have a small chiropractor business. Is that correct?
Yeah, small medical practice, yes.
How long have you done that?
26 years.
Okay. So in that time, I imagine you probably had several employees come and go.
Correct.
Some by their own choice, some by yours, I imagine?
Correct.
Okay. So you're well-versed in running a business and what it takes to succeed.
Oh, yes.
26 years is not a short time.
Every day.
In that 26 years, did you ever think that maybe you should call up the governor's office and ask him for some special tax incentives to open another office in a different location maybe?
No, that's not in my
You never
DNA.
considered that? Okay.
No.
And you never thought, to tell your employees, hey, if I don't get a special tax break, I'm going to fire you all and close up shop.
Never had that conversation.
And you wouldn't consider that, would you?
No, I would not.
So does it concern you at all that other businesses in the state are able to have those conversations and that's entertained? Does that concern you, at least on a philosophical level?
Well, sure. You mentioned the crony capitalism, and our colleague from the Taylor district talked about and went around this room and talking about who would be interested in those tax breaks and those incentives, and I'd be there as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
And Mr. Speaker, if I could inquire of the gentleman from Newton, if he is in the room.
Is the gentleman from Newton? Gentleman from Newton, do you
From a microphone, not my own.
proceed?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, gentlemen. I just have one question for you. And
Sure.
We didn't prepare for this, so I'm going to take a little bit of a gamble here, but I'm going to trust you on this. Sir, what's the purpose of government?
The purpose of government. I don't know if we have time for
In a
really
nutshell.
delving into that, but I think it's a lot less than what we many times give it.
Do you think that the negotiation with a private company over the specifics of their internal workings of their business falls within the typical agreed definition of the purpose of government?
I would have to say no in most cases.
And you, sir, yourself have a small business, is that correct?
I do, yes.
And I'll ask you, have you ever considered entering into a similar negotiation with the government at the local or the state level?
No, if I thought it was available for me, I sure would, though.
Oh, that's interesting. You might take advantage of something if it's available. So would you maybe come to the conclusion then that if we were to greenlight a deal like this, that there might be other hands out down the line with similar requests?
I would say that it would open up that Pandora's box, yes.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, to speak on the bill.
Proceed.
Thank you. This was a long time coming, I think. I think every one of us, when we were on the campaign trail, had the question of, why are you running for office? And, sometimes you have a stock boilerplate answer that you give to people, and sometimes you kind of tailor it to the audience. But ultimately, the core of your values kind of have to be the same, regardless of how you answer that. And let me tell the body and Mr. Speaker why I ran for office, and that is to protect the people of Missouri, to protect their liberties, because that is ultimately what the purpose of government is to protect individual liberties. And anything that we consider needs to be considered within that scope. And this is far outside of that scope. There's a old expression, I have seen the enemy and he is us. That's what we have become. I'm here to protect the people of my district and of the state from government. From government saying that we're going to take away your individual rights, and also that we're going to come and take away your money and give it to someone else just because we think that someone else is more valuable than you. I don't want GM to leave. It would hurt my constituents quite a bit if they closed that plant. And I am excited about the possibility of them expanding that plant, but I'd like them to do it with their own money and their own resources, just like every other business in this state does. I told this to the GM lobbyists, and I'll say it in public. GM spending $1 billion on GM's property to build GM's plant is GM's business decision. It is not an investment in the state. It's an investment in their company, which I am excited for them to do in an area that would benefit my residents. But I am not excited about the idea of taking money from all the residents of all of your districts to make it happen. So I'm going to vote no against this, and I would urge the body very strongly to do so as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.